Welcome back. The High Court in Makhanda has dismissed an application by the Eastern Cape Transport MEC and the SAPS to appeal a ruling on Intercape taxi violence action plan. The bus operating company took the matter to court following violent attacks on their drivers and passengers, allegedly at the hands of taxi operators. The court then ruled that both Transport MEC and the SAPS should develop an action plan to protect both the drivers and passengers. Let's bring in Intercape's CEO, Johann Ferreira. Thanks very much, Johann, for joining us this afternoon. And just to note, this is the fifth ruling in favour of Intercape, and yet there's still been no action from government.
Yeah, look, it is quite surprising that after the loss of life and 192 attacks, there's been no arrests made and also no action plan filed, although it was ordered by the High Court that an action plan should be put together between the police and also the Department of Transport to safeguard passengers throughout South Africa, but in particular through the hotspot areas in the Eastern Cape. And coupled to that, the court has also ordered the Hawks Department of Investigation and the South African Police Force that they should make arrests. They should investigate and they should make arrests. So it is shocking. It is shocking to see the apathy and the disdain that these state departments held against the rulings, the court rulings. And this is Supreme Court rulings, High Court rulings.
Yeah, so you mentioned 192 attacks, Johann. How many arrests in the wake of those attacks?
Not a single one. Not a single one. 192, and it's murder, attempted murder. It's a staggering number. Yeah. It's a staggering number. It's intimidation. So it's worrying. It's a worrying situation for not only for Intercape, but it should be a worrying situation for South Africa. And, you know, I think Vakile Mbalula and Becky Cele has left their positions and has left a blood trail. They have left their departments in shambles. And, I mean, I can speak at length about both those departments that has really let down South Africa very badly.
Right.
During their tenure.
Yeah, absolutely. No action plan, and yet I imagine millions spent in legal fees fighting this decision by the court that an action plan be put in place.
Yeah, look, the thing here for me is it's not a commercial issue. This issue is about protecting and saving the lives of ordinary South Africans.
Let's take you back to our discussion with the Intercape CEO, Johann Ferreira. Johann, thank you very much for your patience and for holding the line. You'll understand it's an incredibly important story we're tracking, this horror crash that claimed the lives of so many pupils. And I wonder, Johann, before we get back to this court victory for Intercape, whether you're able to comment as someone who works in public transport on just how rigorous the process must surely be when taxis, and in your case buses, are transporting people, in this case children, going to school.
Look, accidents do happen. Unfortunately, we live in a fallen world and we are human beings, and accidents do happen. But the flip side of the coin is one has to do everything in your power when an accident happened that you've done everything to safeguard passengers. And so buses are designed in a specific way, and it's homologated. The South African Bureau of Standards are very stringent on how safety belts works and the attachment of the seat to the body of the bus and rollover tests. So it's a very intensive process that you have to go through in order to get a vehicle license to transport passengers. And whether they're children or grown-ups, it's a human being. So look, it's very unfortunate what happened, but unfortunately, government has to take the blame for it because they allow these things to happen. They allow, like you say, buckies. I mean, a bucky is not designed to carry passengers. You shouldn't put somebody on the back of a truck or a bucky, but yet it happens. So they should ban these things. It doesn't help to look into the matter. They must say, this is a bus, this is a minimum standard, it has to be homologated, and that's it. Yeah. But it is because every man and the dog wants to enter the economy, but they want to enter it on a shoestring. And if they don't get it, then, they protest until they get it. But it's really not the way to go about it.
Yeah.
There is the right way, but unfortunately, government choose a different way. In my instance as well, they choose a different way. And the different way is to side with the taxis, not to take action, not to do arrests. And this thing is dragging on and on and on and on. And it will not stop until they make arrests, until they take responsibility for what they have been elected for.
Well, let's go back to your story, and thank you for the comment on the Merafong crash, the other big story that we've been tracking this afternoon, Johann. Let's go back to your big story, the fact that there's a new Minister of Transport, a new Minister of Police. Are you hoping that that's going to move the dial insofar as Intercape's case is concerned?
Well, it all depends on Ramaphosa. If he's about going about his business the way he's done it in the past, then obviously it's not going to happen. Because, we wrote to him first before anything happened, and he just ignored it. So it trickled down to the other ministers, and they ignored it. So if he keeps on ignoring the stop signs, the road signs in South Africa, it will take us to the grave. So they've already lost the elections because of the apathy. And people has lost faith, be it in the power supply, be it in, the airways or parastatals. The Department of Transport is just one department. We can look at the police department. So unless the ministers really take their job seriously and go to the Constitution and go to their job description, so to speak, their KPIs and KPAs, and take serious action against the perpetrators, nothing will happen, unfortunately. But we as Intercape will not stop, and we will keep holding government accountable, because this is not about Intercape. It's not a commercial issue. This issue is about the safety and security of the people of South Africa. Shooting at the tires or the engine of the bus. They shot at the driver and the passengers. They didn't intimidate the bus, they intimidated the passengers, they assaulted the passengers and office staff. So, it's about safety and security.
It is. And I mean, these attacks that you're describing go as far back as 2015, right? The buses, Intercape buses, facing a whole range of attacks. You just mentioned now one of Intercape's drivers shot dead 2 years ago, several passengers injured as well. What sparked these attacks, do you think, Johann? Is it an issue of routes? Is that sort of the entry point of how these attacks started?
It's all about money. Look, the taxi industry successfully neutralized the train industry. They burned the coaches, the train coaches. They stole the cables. They vandalized the railways, the actual railway that the rails that the train runs on. And that's why we don't have a long distance train industry in South Africa. So they look towards the bus industry, and Intercape being the leading bus operator together with Greyhound, but Greyhound is now out of the picture, so to speak. They're just a remnant of what they used to be. And so they're looking towards the bigger operators. So if we can take them down, we can hijack, we can turn it into a mafia operation, like where they operate the taxis. So it's all about money. It's about territory. It's about, I want what you have. Let me drive you out. Let me sell my taxi, buy a bus, and then let me run the service. Problem with that is that you sit with a situation exactly what the scholars sit with now. Is that you sit with companies, smaller companies that does not comply. And so the industry completely goes to the ground.
Well, let's hope this